أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all our dear beautiful souls. Alhamdulillah, we are so excited for this beautiful month of Ramadan, and we are so excited looking forward to welcome the banquet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the arrival of this beautiful month of Shahr Ramadan. And also, we are so excited to launch our Shahr Ramadan initiatives with you all. Hope you are all excited too. My name is Sakeena Habib, and I am going to be your host for today's Ramadan podcasts. As we slowly enter into the divine embrace of Shahr Ramadan, God's love begins to manifest in everything beyond our five senses. Month of Ramadan will visit us, and not us visiting the holy month. How phenomenal is that? A season packed with spiritual perks, reminding us of our primordial nature and how easily we can access the divine codes and falling in love and unearthing ourselves and yielding towards God-centeredness through the nur of Quran all over again, rekindling our hearts to the warm hospitality of God's grace and beauty that will satiate us from moment to moment in our human becoming journeys. With your amazing support, we have a lineup of soul transforming podcast series for our mind, body, and our spiritual nourishment. Now, mental health is an integral part of overall health and well being. In Islam, caring for our mental health is part of religious duty to honor the gift of life that God has given us. Seeking professional help and treatment for mental health difficulties should be seen as an act of faith and worship, not a sign of weakness. Several Muslim brothers and sisters from our community are struggling to seek help from professionals due to financial restraints. However, together we can heal minds and hearts by supporting the affordable mental health care today. Lantern of Light Charity is here for you to support your emotional, spiritual, and mental well being needs so that we can transform so many lives together. I would like to request you all that it will take you only 60 seconds to get on your phone and press the link which is available in the description bar to the link to donate to Lantern of Light on our Unity Trust Bank sort code 608301. The account number is 20484923. We look forward to your support and contributions that will help us serve. Please do consider donating to our various Shahr Ramadan campaigns as well, such as Sahifat al-Sajadiya podcast series, Lantern of Light's mental health well-being podcasts, Ramadan Iftar parcels for the most underprivileged indigenous Shia families in Kenya, transforming journeys through Quran and Dua, and Layal al-Qadr event, and orphans and widows educational projects. Once you have donated, please do not forget to put reference to what you are donating for. If you are a UK taxpayer, please consider to tick the gift aid box. Alternatively, you may donate on the link which is provided in the description bar below. So wishing everyone a very blessed holy month, Ramadan Kareem. As we move on to our today's mental health well-being podcast, I would like to introduce our very well-known esteemed speaker who has been a part of Lantern of Light, and we look forward to having her during this Shahr Ramadan to inspire us and help us with some really beneficial tips about how can we work on developing our emotional maturity, which is a very crucial and an important topic when it comes to connecting with our emotions and being able to become more mature in making certain decisions in our lives and to handle situations. Our today's guest is Sister Sabira Kanji. She is a clinical psychologist and a family therapist. She was born in Tanzania and brought up in Pakistan, where she did her master's in clinical psychology. And she went to UK to do her second master's in family and systemic therapy. She has been conducting online therapy sessions for the last 10 years, and she's also on the therapist panel for various platforms such as Imam Connect, Faith Counseling, Ask Those Who Know. And she really has a strong passion to help people to understand their emotions and regulate them so that they can have a fulfilling relationship with Allah, self, and the family. Without much further ado, I would like to welcome Sister Sabira Kanji. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Sabira, Ramadan Kareem to you. I hope that you are keeping well, inshallah.
Walaikum salam, Sister Sakeena, Ramzan Kareem to you and all our viewers. It's a pleasure to be here on the night of the first fast, inshallah. And I'm so happy that we are finally including mental health in Ramadan. It is a very new initiative because you know how whenever Ramadan comes, the first thing we think about is our physical health and spiritual health, the two things. But mental health is often neglected without realizing that they all three are one package. So I'm extremely happy that Lantern of Light has taken this initiative because a lot of things that we do in Ramadan are directly related to our emotional health. Our emotions, you can, as you know, that you see in Ramadan, despite shaitan being in chains, we often lose our tempers. Sometimes we get irritated, we get frustrated, and then we feel guilty that, oh my God, my all my hard work of reciting Quran and all that is going down.
Yes, Sister Sabra.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm saying that I'm extremely happy to include mental health in this month of Ramadan and privileged to be the first speaker on a very important topic.
Jazakallah, Sister Sabira. It is absolutely an honor, likewise, to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, as you know, that today's topic is something that I'm quite interested to talk about with you, to learn more about it. It's about how to develop emotional maturity. Now, when we speak of emotional maturity, Sister Sabira, what is emotional maturity? How would you define it? How would you explain it to anybody who would like to understand it?
Right. So, in order to understand emotional maturity, when we think of the word maturity, we might think that it will come automatically, just like, we get mature physically, emotional maturity will also come automatically as we grow or our age, as we grow in terms of age. But that's not what it is. It is actually a skill, an art of being able to manage your emotions according to the situation. And it does not just happen. You have to have that environment and you have to be reflective about how and what emotions are coming up for you, what are the triggers, and how you can actually get out of that reactive stage and respond. Yeah, because sometimes you might have noticed many people around us, they are mature age wise, but they're still very reactive. They've not
Absolutely.
attained that maturity where they would reflect and think before they speak. So what happens is whenever they're feeling something, they just act on their emotions. So the thinking part, the reflecting part is often missing. So one of the differences between a person who is emotionally mature and someone who is not is that the person who is emotionally mature will take responsibility of their emotions. They will not be blaming situations, blaming other people for how they are feeling. You might have come across people who are always complaining, always not happy that whether it's to do with the place we are living in, the world we are living in, or their relationships. They feel that this, whether it's their spouse, their children, their parents, they are the people who are making me feel a certain way. Yes, the feelings might be triggered from a certain source, but once you start taking the responsibility, that means it's yours. You're taking the ownership, and then only you can work on it. But if you continuously blame others and you're in that mode of, that victim mode, that no, I'm the victim, it's because of others that I am like this, you will never be able to attain that emotional maturity. So taking responsibility of your own emotions is one of the main factors to determine if you are emotionally mature or you're not.
Okay, so Sister Sabira, I want to ask you this question. As you said that, it depends on one's age as well. Some people they react earlier, some people are wiser. Does this come from, your social upbringing, from, the social learning theory, what you see around you? So what are some factors that contribute to some people being more emotionally mature than others?
Like any other, developmental aspect, this also is strongly related to our childhood and the environment where we grew up. Like if someone has parents who have not been emotionally mature, I mean, like, if there's a child and the child expresses some kind of emotional needs, whether it's, the child feels happy, angry, sad, upset, frustrated, whatever the emotion the child is feeling, if parents have not been able to pick on it and, provide that safe space for the child to feel, and then to obviously help the child to regulate their emotions, if this was absent and the parents were focused on just the physical needs, like, how most of our South Asian families were, or now things are alhamdulillah improving, that, a lot of focus was on just the education, the physical needs, the but the psychological and emotional needs were often neglected. It's not the parents' fault. I always say that it's because the parents also didn't have that kind of, awareness, and their parents never had that. But what happened is that we often see that we ourselves are not good with our emotions. We get uncomfortable feeling certain emotions. We get uncomfortable talking about emotions because we don't know what they are, where they come from, and, and also all these beliefs about, okay, you're too sensitive. We've all, many of us grew up listening. If we were emotional, we were told that, oh, you're too sensitive, or,
Yeah.
other things, as if that, it's a bad thing to be emotional, right? Instead of
Yeah.
someone being there, hey, why are you upset? Or, why are you angry? Well, we were told that, you shouldn't be angry, just control it, right? Why are you, there's nothing to be angry about. This is a very common thing that we all heard while growing up. There's nothing to be angry about. There's nothing to be sad about. Why are you crying? Stop crying. So there was no validation of your emotions. If you grew in that kind of an environment, there are higher chances that emotional maturity will not come automatically, and you probably will have to work on yourself, realize, okay, this is where things went wrong. And then that doesn't mean that if you grew in that environment you'll never become emotionally mature. No, it's about reflecting and then working on yourself. So in a household where emotions were not really catered, there are higher chances that this person will not be very emotionally mature. But
Yeah.
that's not only the factor. Their research is showing that, things like education, the way you were brought up. Let's say if your home wasn't a place where you found the safety, but as you grew up you had other relationships, friends, teachers who gave you that space, that will
Absolutely.
contribute to your maturity. It doesn't mean that, just because your parents never gave that intimacy, emotional intimacy, which we say, like, they didn't express their love and their other positive emotions as well. That doesn't mean that you will remain like that, right? It depends on a lot of factors, but yes, childhood is one of those important factors. Or if you grew up in an environment where the parents were more concerned about their own emotions, like let's say parents who were having conflicts, or a parent who was depressed, or because of any illness, or whether it's psychological, physical, that, or other stress related things like finance, I don't know, other you know issue, other environmental factors, or the mother was going through some kind of emotional issues and couldn't focus on the children and was more self-centered,
Yeah.
these children you feel emotionally lonely. They feel they don't have anyone where they can actually express their emotions, right? So these
Right,
factors
absolutely.
do impact on why, some people are more emotionally mature than others.
Yeah. And could I just add a point over here? I feel like, as the generations are passing down, like we are breaking that cycle of, you can say generational trauma. For example, as you said, when, a child would be frustrated and they would, reveal their feelings, the parents would sometimes want to suppress those feelings and tell them, come on, you're acting really uh,
Yeah.
cowardly, and stop being like too sensitive about it. But on the contrary, what we see today is that these things are actually being more acceptable in schools, and in some certain establishments. For example, I can give you my own child's example. Like, when she told her teacher the other day that I'm bored, she wasn't enjoying the activity, the teacher actually told me that that was something positive, because the child expressed her feelings and told me that she's bored. And so I realized that something is, I should give her something more interesting and challenging. Perhaps if we would look at this same scenario and take it a couple of years back, 10, 15 years back, the teacher might have said that, your child was complaining that they found the activity really boring, and the parents would take it in a negative way and, would come back home and probably scold us. So I feel like there is a
Yeah.
shift that we're seeing today. And I strongly agree with the points that you've mentioned. The factors that you mentioned, how they contribute to our upbringing and our, emotional understanding, our emotional intelligence. So, Sister Sabra, what are some ways in which we can develop this emotional maturity?
Yeah. So as I said, like let's say our generation or people who are already adults and did not have that environment, it doesn't mean that they cannot work on their emotions, right? So the first and utmost, important step is that you realize that, there is a problem, right? That is the first step, because when you are emotionally immature, what happens is you think that, there is nothing wrong with you. You become defensive. And if someone, like, if you're in a relationship, whether it's your spouse or anyone, if they tell you that, you react, or why do you get angry? What will happen is, because you're emotionally immature, you might get defensive and say something like, well, it's not my fault, or, it's because you do this, right? So you need to change,
Exactly.
right? The
Yeah,
first
true.
you realize that you have a part to play, right? And as I
Absolutely.
said, owning your emotions. But before even we come to that owning stage or realizing, it's about knowing what you feel, like, knowing about our emotions. Many of us, like, if I ask you, like, in my own, when I take sessions and I ask my clients sometimes, like, how did you feel when XYZ told you, that you're not good enough, or they told, like, let's say your parent had an expectation, and then they said, why have you not achieved that expectation? What did you feel? And it is very difficult for many clients or many people to actually name their emotions. So, even if I ask you, like, Sakina, name some emotions, maybe, your vocabulary will be between to 10 at the most,
True.
right? Some
Absolutely.
people even
Yeah.
under that, we think, okay, happy, sad, frustrated, angry,
Yeah.
finish, right? There's
Exactly.
so many emotions, like, behind, let's say, behind anger, you might be angry, but behind it is because you feel rejected, you feel lonely, you feel, I don't know, overwhelmed, right? So all these emotions are completely different from each other. Like, being overwhelmed, let's say the expression is anger, like, you shout at your child, but actually it's because you're feeling overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
going to that exact feeling, what are you feeling, right? So if I know I'm getting angry at my child today, or I'm getting snappy, and it's because I'm overwhelmed. Why am I overwhelmed? Because I've got too much to do. So if I have that reflection, I will do something to, maybe ask for help, maybe prioritize things, organize myself. But if I just say, oh, I'm angry and it's because my child is being difficult, that means neither am I aware of what I'm feeling. I'm not even aware of where it's coming from. So it's very important that you name or you feel the exact emotion, right? And that
Absolutely.
comes with practice. Like, there are many tools that help us to actually identify what we are feeling. Once you have identified it, then you look behind it. Okay, where is it coming from? Like, like I said, if it's to do with your routine, if it's to do because maybe you didn't have enough sleep or you didn't have your chai in the morning, whatever it is, there are many triggers. So being aware of your trigger, what triggers your anger, what triggers certain emotions, right? So once you start being aware of them, then you reflect, okay, where does it come from, what can I do about it, right? So you're taking ownership of doing something about it. So,
Very
the
true.
first stage is, okay, knowing what is your emotion, then what is behind it, what are your triggers, and then what can be done, right? And then you obviously, when you have got this ownership that I'm responsible for the way I feel, you will take steps, right? You will
Right.
not be in that victim mode. You will be in this position of, no, I have the power. You will feel more control, right? So there's a psychologist was actually given four stages of emotional maturity. So the first or the lowest stage is survival stage, where he says, there's so many people who are living in survival mode, which means they're just living out of this, a life where it's very fear based. So they're like
Yeah.
reactive. They be like, what do you call it? They will not take the response, so they're always reacting, they're always emotional, they're just full of emotions, and obviously not
Emotions.
emotions
Yeah.
that are regulated and thought. So they're reacting on their emotions, and the thinking is completely absent, right?
Right.
So, and the second stage is the security stage, where people are operating from a duty-based position. They're
Mm.
just fulfilling their duties, whether it's as a mother, as a any occupation, whatever it is. So they're just, as if they don't have their own input in it. So whatever duties they have, they're just, doing those. Too many shoulds,
Mm.
and I ought to do this. What will people say? They are very much people pleasers. So they're operating
People
from,
please.
okay, this is, I should do this, I shouldn't do this. That's it. Like without thinking that, okay, why should I do it? Or, reflecting on it. Is it serving me? Is it not serving me? They're just operating on a very duty-based position. The third one is success. Now, this stage is where you realize what your emotions are. You realize what your goals are. You strive. You're an achiever. Like, you want to achieve a lot of things, but you're still uncomfortable feeling certain emotions. Like, let's say
Mm.
if certain fears, or you're, there are certain things, like maybe you're, because you're a achiever, you're doing well in life, you might be okay with feeling, the happiness and feeling successful. But when it comes to talking about certain emotions, you still might be uncomfortable, right? The
Right.
last stage, which is where we all want to be, or we all, it's the serenity stage. And as the word, is, it says, it's a stage where you're okay with being yourself. You're okay with all parts of you, like, positive, negative, any emotion, you're okay with it. Once you're okay with it, you develop a good relationship with yourself. And once you develop that, you develop good relationship with other people, right? Because
Right.
emotional maturity is just about you, right? It's about your relationships. So when we accept and empathize with ourselves, that is only when we can do that for others, right? But if we are
Absolutely.
critical, self-critical, and always like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, why did I do this, and then that's it, we don't change, then we see other people like that as well. So these stages are like, a good framework for us to say, okay, where am I? Am I in the success stage? Am I in the survival stage? Where am I with my emotions?
Very true. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sister Sabra, for sharing that. I think that is so educational, and it is so helpful because, one really would now come to understand that at which stage, am I standing, and how can I become better at reaching that serenity stage, which I think is very important for each one of us, especially as mothers. I think we fall into that trap of people pleasing all the time, pleasing the society, and so we're sometimes hurting ourselves emotionally and mentally, but we don't realize that. And then later on, when we grow old, when time flies, and that's when it starts hitting certain women. I know this for sure, because that's when they start telling their stories, and they don't want us to repeat those mistakes. Now, Sister Sabra, there's a very interesting question that I want to bring forward, and that is that, we often see people taking things personally. For instance, if someone, does not invite us somewhere, or someone doesn't answer our text, we automatically start making judgments about, ourselves, that maybe we have done something wrong. So, how can we not, take things very personally, very sensitively?
Hmm. Right. So that's a very interesting question because, like, especially right now that we are in the month of Ramadan and there's more, social interaction. So one day you might go to the Quran Khani and then you say salam to someone or you smile to someone and that person just ignores you and then you feel, oh my God, like you said, have I done
Something
something wrong?
normal.
Right? So there are two kinds of people. Yeah, some people are internalizers, so they think that I must have done something wrong. It is my, maybe I've done something, or maybe last time, when she asked me for a favor and I said no, maybe she has felt bad, and then the way our thoughts are, they just don't stop there, right? And then we start making all these links. Yes, the other person has also told me that she's like this, and then we, unfortunately, what happens is we create these scenarios in our head, whether it's about that person or it's about us, right? So if a person is an internalizer, they probably self blame. They think it's my fault. Now what shall I do? Shall I go and say sorry? Shall I ask her? Or it's difficult to ask, right? So we might feel uncomfortable, so we just live with that, low self-esteem kind of framework, right? This mindset that, okay, it's me, I'm not good enough, I probably have done something wrong. The other people who are externalizers, they always see fault with the other person, right? So they might start forming judgments about this person, that this person is proud,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I think it got cut, right?
Yeah, but it's okay. You can continue.
Yeah, so the externalizers usually, form opinions and see things that it's the other person's fault. And the
Yes.
both, too much of an internalizer, too much of an externalizer, are both not very healthy, right? So
Right.
if you catch yourself forming these assumptions, the first thing you need to remind yourself, it is not about me, right? It is not about me. If this person has not slandered me, so look for other alternatives, right? Maybe this person didn't look at me, like, this person was in his or her own thoughts, and this person did not, see that I'm smiling. Yeah. So look for other alternatives that,
Yeah.
it's not always about me, because if we keep thinking it's about me, right, this is a very heavy baggage. Like you said, we'll take things personally. It will impact our self-esteem. It will impact the way we interact with people. If I keep believing, oh, this person, it's to do something with me, I might not be able to have a very good friendship with this person just because I thought this person didn't smile at me with an intention, like intentional ignoring me, right? This person was intentionally ignoring me. So the first thing
Absolutely.
is you take yourself out of the situation and look for other explanations. Maybe this person, didn't look at me. Maybe this person was busy. Maybe it's to do with the way she's feeling today. Give other explanations. The second thing is that if it really impacts you to the extent that you are thinking, rather than listening to the majlis or the Quran, you're continuously thinking about this person, right? So that is also a question mark, like, why is it bothering you? So that, the flip side of the coin is, it is to do with you. What do I mean by that is that if it's triggering you so much, that must be there must be something about this, about you, that you need to work on. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
actually, it is
True.
not to do about you, but the second thing is maybe it is to do about you. Why is it bothering you so much, right? And trust me, it's not uncommon. Like, there's so many things, the way people react with us, or the way they interact with us, and then we carry it for days. It keeps our mental space occupied, right? So there is always a question mark, that why, maybe you're a people pleaser and you want to please everyone on this planet, right? So if someone doesn't smile at you, it's a big thing. Like, why? Because maybe your belief is that no one should be upset with me, right? So that's something that you need to work on. Or if it's something else, like you said, if you have this need that if whenever I message someone, this other person should reply immediately. So what is it about? Do you feel do you have some fears, like, this fear of like, when we talk about attachments, right? There are some attachments which are not very healthy. Do you feel insecure when someone doesn't reply? Do you start, like, if you're a couple, and then let's say if your husband is out and you call him 2 times and he doesn't reply, if thoughts start coming in your head, what if he's out with someone else? What if this? What if that?
Mm.
What if he doesn't
Yeah.
me? What if I'm not important? These questions come in your mind. It is probably an indication about your attachment style, right? So whatever it is, if it bothers you a lot, question it. Like, why is it bothering you? And if you need to take some professional help, do it, because they're meant, these things are, it might seem not very important, but they are important. They certainly point to some kind of thing that has is not resolved, and you need to work on it.
Mm. Thank you so much, Sister Sabra. I think, you've actually raised some very interesting points, and I think I would have loved to go on more on this and to delve more into this topic, inshallah. In our upcoming podcast, we can take some points from this, and, we will, of course, have a more interesting conversation on our new topic. Thank you so much for being a part of this first podcast of Shahar Ramadan today. I want to thank you so much, and we would like to wrap up our program. I would like to humbly request all our viewers who have tuned on today's program to please let us know how did you find today's podcast. Give us your feedback, and also please do donate to Lantern of Light, the amazing initiative that we are doing, inshallah. And are there any final words that you would like to say, Sister Sabra, and we can end the program?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Sakina, for inviting me. And I would also like to add upon, this initiative that Lantern of Light has taken in terms of mental health. So the idea, or the plan is that, there are so many people in our community, unfortunately, who are not being able to access mental health. When I say mental health, I mean maybe they need therapy, maybe they need someone to talk to, and they can't, right? The stigma is being broken to some extent. Like, there are people who don't care about the stigma, because it's impacting them, it's impacting their relationships, and they really want to take help. But like, that some therapy packages, and certain, if they go to, let's say, towards secular therapy, or they go towards someone who is not faith based, they might not get what they're looking for. So Lentil of Light is actually, the therapists, including myself, we are all from our community, which helps us to understand the needs of our clients in a better way, and we are trying our best to provide therapy to people who cannot afford it, and people who can, like, just like you donate for iftars, you donate for other causes. This is a very important cause, because imagine, like, let's say if there's a mother who is suffering from any kind of mental health issue, and she really needs help, she's ready but she cannot afford it, right? So with your help, you can actually save this mother, or save the whole household. Like, we know how the mental health of a mother impacts the way she operates. So inshallah, I'm hoping that people will donate so that we will be able to provide our services to more and more people in our community who we know are suffering and who we know are not mentally at a good place. And inshallah, this is how we can hold each other's hands and inshallah make mental health more accessible, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Sister Sabra, for that wonderful message. So, in the end, please let us all come together. We can heal minds and hearts with one donation at a time. Thank you. This is your host, Sakeena Habib, signing off. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.